Overall, as expected, it's quite stressful to drive in. So we are back again once more with the classic retro line and the retro bus. I'm driving a brick with the characteristics of a brick. We sing a song to the madness of the brave. It actually took us more than a week to slowly drive this bus all the way to the city of St. Petersburg. I would have died, but the guys are running around happy. In general, preserving history is a very difficult process. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. A bus based on the ZIL 130 is significantly more interesting than a bus based on the Gazonchik. For one thing, it's much more lively. Secondly, it's quite a bit taller. And thirdly, I haven't thought of anything yet. CX. Got it. Oh, for goodness sake, I am begging you, please just listen to me for 1 second and help me out here. I really need this, please, please, please. Thank you. How many Soviet bus factories do you know? Let's start counting on our fingers. Stop. 20, 30, or how about 300? Name one. No. Today, just one. An hour? Chekhovsky Bus Factory. It was located in the Tajik SSR in the city of Chekhovsk or Leninabad 30 since the town was secret and closed off. Why? Because uranium ore was mined there at the local Leninabad mining and chemical plant. In fact, the city itself grew up around the mine, as well as various supporting enterprises. As I mentioned, we're interested in one specific facility in particular, which originally specialized in repairing a wide variety of equipment, Chekhovsky ARZ. In 1960, it began producing buses for internal industry use. The Ministry of Medium Machine Building. At that time, the atomic industry was part of this ministry. They decided not to start from scratch as it would be time-consuming and difficult, particularly the vehicle's certification process. But taking an existing model and starting production was well within the capabilities of the Chekalov plant workers. Moreover, the concept was simple and had been well developed in the USSR. The idea was to take a truck from the assembly line and fit it with a wagon-style body. Here's another name for the bus enterprise, KAG. Kanovsky Bus Plant. Never heard of it? Well, there you go. Engineers from Chaz went to KAG to exchange experience and at the same time brought back design documentation and ready-made panels for making molds. That bus was mostly made of wood and its base was the Gaz 51. Time went on, innovations were needed. The little gas trucks were too weak for quarry crew buses and just shuttled between mines and settlements. There was still another base available, the ZIL 130 truck. Overall, it's clear how the story developed. In the 1970s, instead of the Gaz chassis, they started using the ZIL chassis. Moreover, at the factory, they tried to mount the old body onto the new chassis without any changes. But it didn't work out. That was in 1974. And after some modifications in 1975, the bus went into production. Until 1985, it was called Tajikistan 5. After the new designations, Tajikistan 3205. Don't confuse it with the PAZ bus, though it's hard not to. The scope for creativity at such factories ended with brick-shaped designs. It was simply cheaper. If I hadn't told you all this, you wouldn't have understood anything. What Tajikistan and why? So underneath, there's no frame from the 130. It's their own. But you can't just take it and separate it from the body. So we could say that it is more or less integrated. But the wheelbase of 3,800 millimeters is the same as the parent's, but the body length is greater, 7,345 versus 6,675 millimeters. All the load-bearing structures grow out of it. Underneath, there are spatial structures to hide the fuel tank and all the truck's related equipment. On top, the ribs of the body itself are covered with steel sheets. There are also stamped elements. For example, the bus's frontal projection, and the rear as well. And what do you think of the roof? The suspension. Nothing supernatural. This is a time-tested, rugged, heavy-duty design. Leaf springs are positioned on a solid I-beam. If you think there's something brand new at the back, you'll find there really isn't. It's the standard ZIL unit. There are helper springs and mainsprings, whose ends are secured with removable eyes and pins. The rear parts of the springs are sliding. That's all there is to describe. Under the bus's floor, the spare wheel is stored at the rear, and somewhere in the middle there's a 170-liter fuel tank. The bus has 3 entrances. The driver's entrance is over there. We'll get to it later. These are for passengers. And this one? The luggage compartment. No, all similar vehicles were built according to a certain standard. If needed, you could load stretchers with wounded people in here. Or maybe not stretchers, and not with wounded people. For Tajikistan, the bus is too high floor. There are 3 steps, which are quite a challenge for older people to climb. But the clearance above the road messes is impressive. It's really something. The doors are 3-leafed. I've never seen anything like that. The doorway is over 1 meter wide, and for that we're grateful. When you enter the cabin, you find yourself in a flat world divided by a low ceiling and floor. Yes, the main thing here is just to get there, not how you get there. There used to be 25 seats. You could cram in 42 people, but our bus is special. TAP Emercom. Right here, inside the historic Lenin Room, even this small artifact has survived. In hot weather, there are 3 hatches that can be opened. One of them is huge. There are 4 small windows on the wall. In the cold, there's a heater. See, the air duct runs along the wall. I honestly don't know how it works, but even the tiny little hammer has somehow survived. There are a whole 3 emergency exits. The designers were clearly very concerned about safety. Also, in the cabin, the side windows can be opened, but probably no one ever did, since they're emergency exits. The handles on them are double-sided, so you just pull the cord and push out the glass. Easy as that. Overall, the whole cabin gives off that typical Paz bus gloom, but there's a bit more space here than in the Pavlovsk Immortal. Only one will remain. The driver's seat is separated, so you exit to the street through your own little gate. And right here it is, the ZIL level height. But at the same time, it's easier to climb in here than into a Paz bus. Overall, it's spacious. But once you get in here, you realize that everyone helped Tajikistan, especially ZIL. ZIL, the steering wheel, the instruments. Speedometer on the left, instrument cluster on the right. Where the most important thing, of course, is the air gauge. Over here on the left side, you will find the windshield wiper control knobs. These wipers run on compressed air. This is really like shaking a cocktail, but without actually mixing it. In the right block of the dashboard are the indicator lights, where the 2 most important ones, and you need to know them, are the warning lights for pressure loss in the first and second brake circuits. The rest aren't as important. And then there are two bright red strips, either from a late 130 or from a GIA. Well, here we go. I'm opening the dusty kingdom of sounds and smells. It's not hard to open, which is nice. Opening it is unpleasant. I've already talked about the wall. It's solid, no opening. I think that's an element of democracy. In the cold, the driver and passengers are equal. This is the beep, 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 the gear lever. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, damn it, beep. And here's something else that is quite interesting. The cabin heating system. Well, first of all, you have to climb under the hood to close the flap. You close it, and air from the radiator starts to flow into that casing, warming up the cabin. Well, it's so-so, a forced solution. The engine is a gasoline V8 with 150 horsepower at 3,200 RPM, with a compression ratio of only 6.5, but it runs on 76 octane gasoline. Its displacement is 5,969 cubic centimeters. Maximum torque is 402 Newton meters at 2,000 RPM. Even from here, you can clearly see the supercharger, without which a ZIL just isn't a ZIL, as well as the huge number of belts. Well then, gentlemen and good comrades, let's bring it to life. For those who don't know, that's the power of the ZIL. You can't disguise the fact that this is a truck with a different body. The sound accompaniment is like the settings of a bright future. But inside the cabin, in principle, there's the relative sound comfort of the 1980s. Everything kind of howls a bit, but it's not annoying. They say the maximum speed is 80 kilometers per hour. Probably, yes. But that's not the main thing here. Once again, the ZIL chassis is much better suited to harsh conditions than the gas one. And yes, the payload capacity is also quite a bit higher. Here the brakes are air brakes, which they say are more reliable than those on the Pavlovo buses. Well, let's leave that to the conscience of the people who operated this bus. As for me, I think they're wonderful. After the collapse of the country, things became unsettled in Tajikistan. National disputes became very aggravated, to put it mildly. Ethnic hostility had a strong impact on the development of production and the region as a whole. Inter-republican ties collapsed, and the non-Tajik population began to leave the republic. During the post-Soviet years, up to 80% of the residents left Chkalovsk, which today is no longer called Chkalovsk. But the Tajikistan bus did not disappear, or rather, it didn't disappear right away. The leading specialists gathered the project documentation and left for the Ivanovo region on a business trip. But no one ever returned from that business trip. That's the short version. And so the Rodnik bus was born. But as they say, that's a completely different story. If I find it, I'll definitely tell you about it. And the hunt continues.